Hi, everybody. I'm working on my sample project for your national parks project, like your model. And I just realized as I was working on this graph that we've never actually created this kind of graph before. Some of you may have seen a graph like this at one point. I have vague memories of talking about this, but we never actually made one. So before I finish entirely, I wanted to take a minute to describe to you how to make it. Okay, so this is going to be a bar graph, a double bar graph, comparing the monthly visits to my national park, which is Grand Canyon National Park, comparing the monthly visits to the average high temperatures in the month. I would expect that as the temperature increases, the visits increase as well because people want to come on vacation in the summertime when it's warmer. However, if you have a park that's like in Alaska or maybe like in the deep south or further in the desert than in the Grand Canyon, you might find a different thing is true about your temperatures. Maybe when it gets too hot, people don't want to come or whatever. Anyway, so the first thing I did was I went onto the website with all the statistics that hopefully you have access to, have accessed already, and I created a table for the month and how many people visited that particular month. I just copied it off of the table that was online because it was a little overwhelming to look at all that information online. And this is before I had this column of the table. So I just had these two columns. I made a bar graph based on that information. So you can see the months go across the bottom and the number of visitors go up the side. I did my visitors in thousands. So like the K, 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, and so on. So then I put a bar on the left. Wait, let me back up. When I labeled every month across the x-axis, I made sure that I left two grid marks, two spaces for each month with a space in between. So you'll notice that all of the months take up two space with that empty space in between. And why that is will become apparent as you continue watching this video. So the first space that belongs to that month, so like here's my skip space, nothing's going here. This is the first space for January. I went up to the number of visitors that had visited in January. Then I skipped over to my first February space, and I went up to how many visitors had come in February. Go over to March's first space, how many visitors came in March, and so on, so that I have visitors for every month all put on my bar graph, okay? Then I went online and found some information. This was quite a struggle, and I spent a lot of time researching, but stick with it. I had to find the average monthly temperatures for that particular year. This was 2018 that I was analyzing. I did manage to find them, so I copied down the average monthly temperatures for each of those months in 2018. Then I made another vertical axis over here, and I made this my temperature axis. So on the right side of each of my two spaces per month, I'm going to make a bar that indicates what the temperature is. So the way to read a graph like this is that the bar on the left of the two bars goes with the axis on the left. The bar on the right of the two bars goes with the axis on the right. It's a little tricky to create this because, well, for me, because I'm right-handed, because like I'm going to figure out, where I need to make the line, and then my hand's kind of like in the way of all my numbers. So I'll do one, for example, here. June, according to my table, had an average temperature of 63 degrees. So I'm going to go to June. I already have my one bar for the visitors. So to the right of that is going to be my temperature bar. And I'm going to go up to about 63 degrees, right here between 60 and 65. Go back over to June and draw my line right there. And then use my ruler or protractor or whatever, my straight edge, to make a nice straight line coming down. Okay, so now June has two bars, one for the visitors and one for the temperature. When I finish drawing in all the bars, I will color code them. So all the recreational visitor numbers, like all the numbers of people, will be one color of bar, and then the temperature bars will be a different color, so that you can kind of see the difference a little more clearly. So I hope that helps when you're creating your graph.